So let's look at the packet of notes that I gave you earlier. We should have it is trig notes. Okay. Okay, so I'm looking on page 5 of the note packet that I gave you. Okay. Does everybody have that? Does anybody not have it? Okay. So we have basically 6 trigonometric functions. 3 of them come from our SOHCAHTOA song. Okay. So the first one is sine, not sin, sine, right? So it's sine equals the sine of the angle equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. The cosine of the angle, abbreviated COS, is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And then the tangent of the angle is the opposite over the adjacent. Okay. So looking at that triangle over there to the right, let's label this, right? Sine, so there's my theta right here. There's my theta. So where's the opposite side? Name the opposite side for me. BC, yeah, this is the opposite side. What's the hypotenuse? What's the hypotenuse, Ava? AB, yeah. And then that means the adjacent is AC, right? So the sine of the angle here is going to be BC over AB. And the cosine of theta, that'll be AC over AB. And of course, tangent of the angle, that's going to be BC over AC. Okay, that's your SOHCAHTOA, which you should have learned in geometry, maybe even in Algebra 1. Okay. Cosecant, secant, and cotangent. These are our reciprocal functions. Okay. So unfortunately, I don't know why, because it would be really nice if the cosecant went along with the cosine, but it doesn't. Sine and cosecant are reciprocals. So cosecant is abbreviated CSC, cosecant of the angle. So cosecant theta equals, we're just going to flip the sign. So this will be AB over BC. Now, I don't memorize hypotenuse over opposite, right? Some people memorize the reciprocal functions. I don't. I know SOHCAHTOA, and I know that sine and cosecant are reciprocal. So if I'm asked to find cosecant, I find sine and then flip it. If you want to memorize it, that's fine. But I don't. Okay. Secant is abbreviated SEC. And again, that's the reciprocal of cosine. So it's going to be, in this case, AB over AC, or hypotenuse over adjacent. Okay. Okay, cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. So it'll be AC over BC, which is adjacent over opposite. COT, yes. Okay, you have to know these 6 trigonometric functions. Okay. Okay. So we're going to skip the famous triangles for now. So let's skip down to example 2. Let theta be an acute angle such that sine theta equals 5 over 6. Okay. So if we look at a triangle, if we look at a right triangle, we know we have one angle that is 90 degrees. This angle right here is 90 degrees. How many degrees are in a triangle? 180. So if that angle is 90 degrees, then the other 2 angles have to add up to 90 degrees, which means both of them are less than 90. So that means both of these angles are going to be acute angles. Okay? So when it says let theta be an acute angle, it's referring to one of the non-right angles. Okay? Because we're talking about right triangles right now. Okay? It doesn't matter which one we call theta. So I'm just going to label my theta right here. Okay, so it says that the sine of theta equals 5 over 6. Now, what's sine again? Opposite over hypotenuse. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So we have 5 over 6. That's opposite. So 5 is the opposite, which is this side right here. 6 is the hypotenuse, which is opposite the right angle. 5 over 6. Okay? So we have to label our triangle first. Evaluate the other 5 trigonometric functions. Well, we have sine. That means we need to figure out cosine, tangent, secant, cotangent, and cosecant. Those are the 5 other trigonometric functions. Now, the easiest one to do is the reciprocal of sine. Which one is the reciprocal of sine? Cosecant. So this one I know right away. I don't have to do any figuring. That's 6 over 5. Because it's the reciprocal of sine. Okay. I want you to turn to someone next to you, behind you, or to the right or left of you, and I want you to discuss solving this example together. Okay. I don't know why I wrote it up there. They're all down here. I'm sorry. 5 over 6, and we did cosecant to 6 over 5. So turn to your neighbor and work on this problem together. Go ahead and do it together. In order to find cosine, what do I need? The adjacent side. And do I know the adjacent side? No. So we need to figure out that other side. How do I do that? Yeah, there you go. Pythagorean theorem, right? Geometry came back to haunt you. All right, Pythagorean theorem. That's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The c is the hypotenuse. So that means we have a squared plus 5 squared equals 6 squared. So a squared equals 36 minus 25. So a squared equals 11, which means a equals the square root of 11. And you're going to leave it just like that. You do not need to take it out of the radical. So we'll just leave it as the square root of 11. Okay. Now I have all three sides of my triangle. Now I can go ahead and figure out the rest of these trig functions. So cosine is the adjacent, which is the square root of 11 over the hypotenuse, so over 6. Tangent is the opposite, so that's 5 over the adjacent. Now we can't leave the square root in the denominator, so we're going to remove it. Remember my little trick? We move, and remove. So we move the radical up and we remove the actual radical from the bottom. Move and remove. Okay. Okay, we have cosecant. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So that's going to be 6 over square root of 11. So we have to do our move and remove again. So we move it up and we remove the radical from the bottom. Okay, cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Now, when you have one like this, instead of flipping the final answer, I'm going to flip it before I actually simplified it. Because doing that is going to move the radical up top, and that's perfectly fine. And that's going to be a whole lot easier than flipping the actual final answer. So that it kind of, if you recognize that ahead of time, it's going to save you a lot of work. Okay. Okay. Questions so far? All right. So I would like you to work on the worksheet. Let me just make sure that I've released it. Worksheet 4.2. It's in your Google Classroom. And let me just tell you which numbers to do here. Yeah, okay, you're just going to do numbers 1 through 8. 1 through 8, okay? And we will have a homework quiz on this next time we meet, which is what? Tomorrow? Okay. Questions for me? Okay. So next week, we're going to go outside and use some trigonometry to measure some things. Okay. So I'll look at the weather and try and pick a nice day. We don't want too hot. We don't want rainy and cold, right? It's got to be a day like today.